Today let's talk about the brand new monthly client contact note. This form works in concert with the new service plan, which is Form ID 325. We will start from your main login screen. From the login screen, you're in the main tab. Let's navigate to a client. We'll go to our client tab and we will select our desired client. Then in our left navigation, we will select Forms, and under Case Management category in the right navigation, we will select New Monthly Client Contact Note. This new monthly client contact note is Form ID 326. Let us start a new instance. First thing you'll notice is this data entry sequence pop-up box. This is a short set of notes that tells you where data comes from, and if you'll follow these steps, your form will be full and complete. Let's start walking through the form. Under this basic information section, this data is pulled from the child's face sheet. This is what we call master field data. So this data, as long as it's on the face sheet, will be brought into the form. Under placement information, this comes from our placement documents, or what's known as our tracking forms. This would be from the initial placement or subsequent placement, or possibly respite forms. We will show you the display of the placement date and the home that the child is currently placed in. These fields, program type, treatment services, and case manager and office, these fields will need to be completed one time only, because this data will cascade to your subsequent instances. So if we make a selection once and save this information, then we do not have to fill these in the next time. Under contact information, here we have a required field. These yellow highlighted fields are required on a technical side to complete a form instance. So we must fill out a date at a bare minimum. We would want to fill out our contact time, length of contact, and these other fields for reporting purposes on the back end. Then we will come to the permanency planning. This legal status, permanency plan, and concurrent permanency plan, these fields are brought over from your selections that you made on your new service plan. Those will show here. Under plan for visits, visitation and contacts with family, we are showing the siblings as the child has been attached to a sibling group and all the siblings are connected together. Here we are showing you instances of your sibling and kin visit form, which is Form ID 74, which is the sibling kin visit form. We are showing you instances for the last 62 days. On these forms, when you see this kind of a display, here on the right is a link which we will open a new open the instance where that data came from. Now we're showing you that form. We can close that form and go back to our monthly client contact note. Here we are showing you the family and the supportive adults. And this is the other adults that are in that home and their roles. Or these are the client people, excuse me, these are client people that you have created as client people that are related to this client in some form or fashion. Then we get to the assessment of needs and progress. Here we have the new combined goals as outlined in the new service plan. So these new combined goals are being pulled from your last instance of your new service plan. There's your intellectual, there's your educational. This goal is being reused from the old service plan. Here's another required field. Here's your emotional therapeutic goal. We display that data for you here. and you make your summary in the text box below. Your behavioral goal, and you get to your health care section. Here we are showing you data. This category is the TB test. It comes off of Form ID 75, your client compliance checklist. Once again, we can click the link and we can see the form and where that data came from. This next section is current exams, also from Form ID 75, client compliance checklist. Any of these are links, and you can see where the data came from. Here's your upcoming exam, again from the same form, showing you upcoming exams. Here's your healthcare goal and your summary box. Here under medication, we are displaying not only the medications as you have entered them in the left link, medications and allergies. We're also showing the allergies and your summary boxes. Here's your social, recreational, community, and cultural identity goal and your summary box. Here's your transitioning to successful adulthood, 13 and older. There's the goal as established in the most recent new service plan. Transitioning to successful adulthood, 14 and over. The goal as established in the new service plan. Reason to believe is a yes or no. Your court attendance information, recommendation section, interview with clients. Here's state ID, driver's license. These will pull from the client face sheet if you have put data in. If not, these will be blank, but you are able to input data here if the child does get their state ID or driver's license. You can input the data here and it will write back to the face sheet. So that's the basic of the form, but now if we try to do a save and continue, we're going to get an error because there are required fields. So there are errors on this form. In order to resolve these, we need to fill out this data. But this is not just an error box, this is also a navigation pane. We can click on this first error and our little sad face shows us this was a required field that needed to be filled out before this form could be saved. So we fill this one in. Here's our RTB. We can fill that one in. Now we have completed our basic required fields. Now we can save an instance of the form. We have just created this form instance. Now let's go back in and see what other features and functionalities we have inside this form. We now have these now show a history of this form. If you click on those, you will see a history of that field. That's always a good thing to know if you want to know what has happened to that field, who changed it. These fields were already filled in previously, but now we're going to start seeing some new functionalities. Here's our statuses, legal status and permanency plans. But we get down here to these injected lists and we see a new little icon. This little icon only appears after you have saved the form for the first time. The first time that you open this form, we go out and find whatever data is current in the system for siblings right here, for example. If you were to have changed this data along the road somewhere and wanted to update that data, you would simply click this little refresh icon and tell us to update that data, and we will go pull the current data that is in the system. So if we were to go in and say we were going to remove, let's say Joe Schrank here is no longer a client person. He no longer is this client's psychiatrist. We're going to leave this form and we're going to go to client people and we're going to look for Joe Schrank here as a person. me. We're going to go here to Joe Shrink, and where we see select, we can decide maybe he is not a client person, or maybe he has a different role, or maybe he has a different contact. Let's say he has no contact allowed, and explain why here. And we have a spelling error, don't we? Casebook also works with your online spell checkers that are embedded in most browsers or as add-ins or plug-ins to your browsers. You see you have a misspelling, you can right-click on that misspelled word. It will give you options and you can correct your spelling. So now we have changed the data on Dr. Joe Shrink here. So we're going to save this data, because remember, we changed his contact options. So let's go back to our form real quick. We'll go back by clicking the little pencil for edit mode, and then we can use our navigation or our table of contents, and we can find the section that we want. And we got right back down here to family and supportive adults, and here's Dr. Joe Shrink, phone contact only, but we just changed that information, didn't we? So we're going to refresh our information, and now we see Dr. Joe Shrink shows no contact allowed, and the explanation would be right below it. So everywhere you see these little refresh icons, you can refresh your data to whatever is current in the system. And that pretty well completes the new service plan. Thank you.